Hey everybody, thanks for joining me here in this magic house. Today I have a brand new deck to show to you guys, and it is called the Tarot of Vlad Dracula. So right now it's September, I'm here in Salem, Massachusetts, and we are feeling Halloween despite, the unusual circumstances. And this seems like a really great Halloween-y type deck to add to your collections. So let's get into it. First, I want to say that this deck is designed by Travis McHenry. And you might know Travis's work from other decks that he has done. He has the Angel Tarot and the Demon Possessed Tarot, which was rebranded as the Occult Tarot in its second printing. And his recent Oracle deck, the Oracle of Heaven and Hell. So he does have several other decks, and this is his latest one. It was just Kickstarted this year, spring of 2020, so brand new to stores. It's available in select stores. I got mine here in Salem at Circle of Stitches, down on the wharf. And for those of you who know me, Circle of Stitches is the store that I ordinarily would be reading tarot cards in person at this time of year, but with the pandemic and all, I am not reading cards in person, so it's one of the reasons I'm starting this little video channel to keep interacting with people. So, Tarot of Vlad Dracula. So, this is very much based on the historical Dracula, not the pop culture vampire Dracula. So there's no vampires in this deck. I want to be clear about that. There's a lot of impalements. So there's a lot of impalements and beheadings and eviscerations, and it's a pretty gory deck. So people who are not into that sort of deck, this is not going to be your thing. Every card has something bad happening in it, but they are all very well researched as to why a particular scene was depicted on each of the cards. So before we actually get into the deck itself and start looking at the cards, I want to say that the deck does come with this green carry bag. It is green velvet with fully lined with gold satin, and it has this metallic gold stamp of the Order of the Dragon, which was the society that Vlad was part of, which gave him his name of Dracula. So we got that, and I always love when decks come with things that help you protect the cards, and not just a tuck box that will disintegrate. So the box itself, it is a nice sturdy box. It doesn't, it comes down about 2/3 of the way. It doesn't fully cover the second box, and but it's a sturdy box. Inside we have the little green book here. It is white inside. So again, you'll see the Order of the Dragon, and there is a lot of information in this book about not only the traditional meanings of the tarot cards, but also of why the particular scene was chosen from Vlad's life to illustrate that particular card. Because like I said, all the cards, even the really good cards, have something bad happening in them. So, but reading this book, it'll really show you why that card makes sense and why that scene was chosen. And it'll really explain that. I will say that the text is very small. I wear glasses, and I need very good light to be able to read this deck. Otherwise, even with my glasses, it's very hard to read. And I think that is, if I have one thing to, say that I'm not so happy with in this deck, it has to be the layout of this little book, because the text is very small. It comes close to being cut off at the top and bottom, but you have a lot of space on the margins here, and it just seems like it could have been laid out better to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And my day job as a graphic designer, I want to just kind of move this around and make the font size a little bit bigger. But that's a very small quibble, and if, if this intrigues you and you want to learn more, the publisher does have a full-size, like 200-page companion book that is available that goes into a lot more detail. I haven't seen that book myself, but I have read about it on their website. So there is a larger companion book available if you want to learn more information. So let's look at the cards. So these are large cards, much larger than I would normally choose for reading. I have very small hands, and as you can see, you know, they pretty much cover my entire hand. They're about 3.5 by 5 inches, and like I have the Pamela, the Smithwaite Centennial deck here in a tin, so this is like not even the cards in the tin, and you can see that it's, you know, it's about twice the size of one of the small travel in a tin sets. And like this is the Aquarian deck, which is a pretty standard tarot deck, and you can see that it's probably about a 1/2 inch wider and maybe a little more than a 1/4 inch taller. So they're hefty cards. They are not edged in any way, and it is stated on the original website for these on the Kickstarter that he didn't have them gilded or edged in any way, simply because with this larger format, this wider format, they don't have the manufacturing facilities at his printer to edge them. I personally am fine with that. I find sometimes when card edges are gilded or painted in some way that they can make the cards stick together a little bit more, or they can be hard to shuffle. So I'm fine with no edging, but I know that is, you know, that's a touch that people look for when they're collecting cards specifically for art. So I want to bring that up. If you are someone who reads reversals, the backs are, you know, it's fairly, they're pretty much the same, but I will say that you can't really tell in this light, but the tea-stained effect on the back isn't exactly even, and when you do shuffle them, and some of them, if you have reversals, you can tell that they're a little bit different. Some cards look a little bit lighter and a little bit darker. So you can tell that there's a difference, but there's nothing indicating, you know, this side up for people who read reversals, and I know that is an issue for some people that they really don't want to know. So for the size itself, he has said that this size was chosen for art reasons, basically. A lot of these woodcuts are based very closely on traditional or existing woodcuts from that era, and that are just kind of tweaked by, I should point out that Travis McHenry did not do the art on these cards. He designed them, but a artist named Nikita Vuimin, who is Russian and who I'm probably horribly mispronouncing their last name, they did the artwork for these cards. So Travis McHenry designed them and did the research, but then Nikita Vuimin is actually the artist. So the illustrations are based on woodcuts of the time, and the more square format is really much more traditional for the woodcut style, and the wider square format also just gives more space for the artwork. So if you like the subject matter and you collect tarot cards for art, then this is definitely a great deck for you, because it was designed to showcase the art and to showcase Vlad Dracula's life story. The borders are very minimal. I know some people hate borders at all. I think these are very appropriate for the deck. They're less than 1/4 of an inch, maybe, I don't have my ruler, but they're less than 1/4, more than 1/8 of an inch around the sides here, and there's a little bit of text at the bottom and the top. The numbers are in Arabic numerals, they're not in Roman, The title of the card is at the top. The title only appears in English on these cards. And at the bottom, there is either a description of the scene or a quote from Vlad's life. So here on the Fool, it says the peasant and his wife. And this is the peasant, and that's his wife on the stake. So she has been impaled. So, like I said, there's lots of death in these cards. So if you don't want death in your tarot cards, except in the death card, or maybe even not even in the death card, some people don't even want that, this is definitely not the deck for you. But if you're looking for a spookier card or a, gorier cards, then, maybe just a Halloween card, deck, then this is a good choice for that. So, yeah, so that's the technical of the cards. And I was saying, like, even the good cards, here we have the Empress, and she's dead, and she's cut open. And the quote here is, "Let the world see where I have been." The book says that this illustration shows one of Vlad's mistresses who lied about conceiving a child, and as punishment, he killed her and sliced her open. And you think, how is that the Empress? But it explains that the Empress in the traditional system is usually a open and honest woman, and here she has been made physically open and honest because you can see inside of her. So it's a literal gory interpretation, and most of the cards have that sort of connotations. So, like I said, this is a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith system deck with the numberings and the titles that the Rider-Waite system you're used to. There are no additional cards in this deck, just a regular 78. The wands are called stakes. Okay, it's Vlad the Impaler, there's going to be stakes. The swords are swords. So I'll say the swords are these Ottoman swords. And I'll do a flip through at the end so that you can see all the cards. I know that I'm just kind of showing them quickly here. The coins here, some decks generally call them coins. Usually they're called pentacles, but they are coins in this deck. And the cups are cups, and this is like a fountain for the face here. And, the court cards are mostly from actual royal families of his time. Some of them his relatives, some of them his enemies. So I mentioned that I usually avoid large cards because I find them very difficult to shuffle with my small little hands. So let's see how that shuffles. They actually shuffle really nice. The cards aren't too thick. A lot of times I get indie decks and there's cards, they're beautiful to look at, but then if you try to shuffle them, they're like trying to shuffle planks of wood and it just doesn't work. So this is a really nice thickness. They shuffle well, they don't stick together, but they're also not too slippery. And for anyone who, like me, has small hands and has trouble shuffling cards, rather than trying to reach over the long way, shuffle on the sides. Just hold the deck on the sides and shuffle them side to side like that. It really makes it much easier. And let's see. Yeah, they fan really nice as well. So, I think really well-made deck. And if you like the artwork, then definitely this is a deck to collect for the artwork. If you are looking for a new Halloween deck that isn't too Halloween based, because this is, it's historical. It's not vampires. then I think that's a really great option as well. I think that there is enough information on each card that you could definitely read these intuitively, with the understanding that they come from, this kind of gory, macabre background, and so, to not take all the stakes all that seriously. But yeah, I think that, the people who don't want this deck know immediately that they won't want this deck. If you are looking for a more uplifting deck or a less gruesome deck, you're not going to be considering the Tarot of Vlad Dracula. But if you are considering the Tarot of Vlad Dracula, then you probably want this deck. So I think that it's a really well-made deck. There's a lot of research that goes into it, and the cards have these really beautiful woodcuts. So I would love to know what you think of this deck, and if you have bought it already, or if you're thinking about it, then let me know in the comments. Thank you!